Spellbreak is a free-to-play class-based third-person shooter with a unique magic combo system, in which you can combine 6 different elements.
Fire! Wind! Water! Heart! Go planet!
By your powers combined, I am Captain
Planet!
Stop, Captain, please.
No. Anyway.
Developed by Proletariat for PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. It released on September 3rd, 2020, but was an open beta for a few years prior. The main gameplay is a Battle Royale style mode, but there's also a 5v5 capture the point mode, and the developer plans to release different game modes in the future. Spellbreak has enabled cross-play with all platforms, meaning PC users, PlayStation 4 and Xbox players can all play together. The current Steam player base hovers around a meager 500 players, but because of crossplay, you also have access to console players. Spellbreak will also fill open slots in a game with bots. These have the same abilities as a player, but behave rather dumb and are easy to kill. With every chapter release, Spellbreak's Battle Royale mode will include some events. Most of the time, these are special NPCs that are guarding different chests or items that the player can interact with to level up his event experience. In the lower left corner you can see your current health and armor, and also the items and their rarity you have currently equipped. The middle shows your currently equipped gauntlets and runes, and on the right you can see your potion inventory and the level of your chosen talents. The bar under the crosshair is your mana. You need mana for your primary attacks but also for hovering. It will start to recharge after a short delay, but will only start if you are touching the ground, so beware when you are firing and hovering at the same time. Hover lets you levitate for a few moments, to reach higher places or to position yourself above your enemy. It will slow your movement speed while in the air and costs mana to use. Hover will also use a percentage of your mana pool, so even if you have a legendary amulet equipped which boosts your mana pool, you can't levitate any longer than without it. Dodge lets you quickly move into the direction your character was moving and will afterwards reduce your movement speed for a short moment. In Spellbreak, your character can equip 2 gauntlets which decide what kind of spells they can cast. Your primary gauntlet will be decided by your chosen class before the start of the match. Besides the normal attacks of the gauntlet, classes will also have some special abilities. You cannot unequip your primary gauntlet while in a match. And your secondary gauntlet has to be picked up as an item from chests or killed players, but you are able to change it at any time. Each gauntlet is available in 5 different rarities. Each level will raise the damage or lower the cooldown of its abilities. And in the options menu you can switch the position of your primary gauntlet. It doesn't have to be on your left mouse button. Normal attacks are your primary source of dealing damage. They cost some mana to cast and each gauntlet has just one type of attack. Sorceries are your secondary spells. They deal some damage but most are better used as a defensive ability. They do not cost mana to use but have a cooldown. Magic combinations are what makes Spellbreak so unique. Nearly all spells can be combined to create something new. Most combos will behave as expected. Shooting ice with fire will melt the ice and create water and steam, or hitting ice or water with lightning will electrify all of it, and so on. All players are able to combo magic that is already placed in the world. So running into your own gas cloud can be dangerous, as another player can explode it easily with a fire attack. The best way to learn these is to play around in the practice mode. Your primary gauntlet will define your class. It cannot be changed while in a match and will give you access to special abilities. The first of these is unlocked at the start of the match, the rest has to be unlocked by entering new ring zones. It's best to think about them in terms of weapon ranges and compare them to normal first-person shooter weapons. Pyromancers use fire and other rocket launchers of Spellbreak, slow-moving projectiles that explode on hit and deal splash damage. Best used in close to medium range, most of their skills will just boost their damage, but they gain one minor mobility skill. Their primary attack shoots a fireball that deals splash damage and creates a flame puddle on the ground that damages everyone, so it's best to fire them from an elevated position on grounded enemies. Their sorcery Firewall conjures a wall of fire perpendicular to the caster. It damages opponents but also blocks ice and toxic projectiles in the view of your opponents. Combust will increase your fireball explosion radius by 200% and will ignite your target for 2 seconds. Firefly makes you immune to your squad's flame walls, and entering one will enable you to fly for a short duration. Paralysis increases your flame wall damage by 100% in the first 2 seconds. Conflagration enables fireballs to explode into 4 smaller fragments that can ignite your target. Pyromancers are great in the early game because of their high base damage. Try to stay close to maximize your damage output and to hit your targets easier. Use your flamewall not to only deal damage, but also to control enemies by denying them areas or use it to block certain spells. Toxic's primary attack cannot penetrate your flame wall. Frost can also not penetrate, but only on the first attack. All other Gauntlet attacks are pretty much unaffected by the flame wall. Try to stay on high ground as much as possible. Firing down at opponents is much easier with fireballs, and their splash damage can still hit them, but don't deplete all your mana with hover while doing so. All Gauntlets are a good combination as a Pyromancer. Toxic Stone and Wind have great combo spells. Lightning and Frost are great to boost your Pyromancer's subpar long range attacks. Toxic Sorceries can explode if hit by fire, dealing bonus damage. Stoneshaper's primary and sorcery attacks will also be boosted by flames, so try to fire it through your flame walls. Wind tornadoes can be ignited by your attacks, creating a flame tornado that deals extra damage to enemies and pulls them in. Fireballs are pretty slow projectiles, meaning the further away you are, the easier it is to evade them. Try to stay above Pyromancers, hitting airborne enemies is difficult for them. Tempest use wind magic and are the submachine gun of Spellbreak. A low damage per hit and medium to low range but fast attack speed. They also have the best vertical mobility with their special abilities and deal bonus damage while in the air. Their primary attack rapidly shoots wind shears that deal low damage per attack. The damage will be even further reduced if you are just a few meters away from your enemy. Wind shears can also deflect certain spells and have some nice utility options. They will shatter ice on contact, creating ice mist that freezes enemies, and are able to dissipate toxic clouds with a few hits, creating toxic mists at a point of impact. Their sorcery creates a tornado that pulls in enemies. Airborne enemies will be affected more than grounded ones. Some projectiles like the fireball will also react to the pull. Your normal attack will now boost you into the air if you fire it on the ground or in the opposite direction if fired at walls. The closer you are to the surface you fire at, the stronger the push will be. You are now immune to your tornado's pull and it will launch you into the air if you enter it. When using the ability of level 1 and 2, Wind Surge and Updraft, you will gain a bonus damage boost and some damage reduction for each second that you are in the air. This will combine with other magic attacks like Fireball or Ice Shard. Your sorcery cooldown speed will increase by 100% if you are longer in the air than 1 second. Use Wind Surge to your advantage, to stay unpredictable and mobile. It's faster and costs less mana than levitating. Stay in the air as long as possible to take advantage of your abilities. Your main damage comes from your secondary gauntlet, so choose wisely. Tornado will combine with nearly all other elements. Use it to your advantage to capture enemies and deal damage to them. Unlocking level 3 will give you a great boost to your damage. Use it in combination with your tornado and your secondary gauntlet to kill players from above. The main focus of your secondary gauntlet should be on dealing damage, and therefore Frost, Fire, Toxic and Lightning are all good options. The Stone Gauntlet is not really that great in combination with the Tempest because of its ground-based attacks. Most elements can combo with your Tornado sorcery, giving it damage dealing capabilities and adding some more effects. For example, Fire will ignite it, changing it to a Flame Tornado dealing damage over time while pulling in players. The Toxic combo will do the same, and the Lightning combo will shock any player that gets pulled in. If they use their Tornado, time your attacks so that it will combine with it and deal damage to them. Tempest's primary attack is only really useful in close range. Stay away while fighting them. They can't evade as quickly in the air as they can on the ground. Use it to your advantage and snipe them with Ice Lance or Lightning attacks. Frostborn use Ice Magic and are the snipers of Spellbreak, meaning they deal high damage from long range. They also gain a great mobility skill for moving through the map. Their primary attack, Ice Lance, will charge up a long-range projectile that zooms in your view and slows your movement speed. If you are airborne while charging, your character will enter a hover mode. The charge up will also increase its damage, range and mana cost. But be aware that the Ice Lance has bullet drop. Frostborn's sorcery Flash Freeze will chill the area around them, slowing opponents inside of it and freezing them solid after 1.5 seconds.
Alright everyone, chill.
The spell will also block fire, wind and lightning projectiles. Ice Lance will now leave an ice trail behind, on which your movement speed will be boosted. Ice trails can combo with all elements and most will create debuffs for you. Lightning bolts will electrify the ice trails, stunning anyone who uses them. Fire melts the ice trail, creating steam that blocks your vision. Toxic will change them to poison puddles that damage and slow you. And wind shears and stone shockwaves will create ice mist that can freeze you. Icicle will outline enemy players while you are charging your primary attack and reduce your mana cost by 100% if you reach full charge. Flash Freeze will now cleanse yourself of Ignite and Corrosion debuffs, and you will become immune to damage while casting it. Also, its duration will increase by 100%. Overcharging Ice Lance will now boost its damage by 35%. Positioning is key as a Frostborn. You have the highest range from any class, use it to deal damage to enemies that can't hit you. Other classes are much better in close range. Use your rune and sorcery to get some distance. You can cancel your charged or primary shot with your secondary gauntlet attack. Toxic and Fire are great gauntlets to boost their close range damage. Their sorceries can also provide some cover. Ice is not really the best element to combo with. You can freeze water and poison puddles to create ice to slide on, and freezing Toxic Cloud allows you to create a solid cover. If a player is inside the cloud, it will turn to ice mist instead, freezing the player after a few moments. You can also extinguish flames, or create a frozen boulder that will create ice mist on impact, freezing players. You can easily stun or freeze Frostborn that are using their ice trail with a lightning or stone gauntlet attack. Try to get in close while running from cover to cover, but their primary attack has the highest mana cost in the game. Flash freeze will not block projectiles from above or below. Stoneshapers use earth magic and gain bonuses to their armor. They deal high damage in close to medium range, but their attack needs to travel on the ground. If you or the enemy are on different platforms, your attacks may not be able to hit them, so it's best to use them in open spaces. Stoneshaper's sorcery
Boulder!
fall will fire a massive rock towards the enemy that explodes on impact, dealing damage based on how long it was in the air. Be aware that you are able to damage yourself if you are caught in the explosion. Stone Skin grants you an extra 20 armor, and each shockwave attack will refill some of it. Your primary attack will now crash you to the ground, making attacking faster. Your boulder will now increase in size the longer it's in the air. You can now store up to 2 boulders instead of 1, giving you a great way to deal huge burst damage to unsuspecting enemies. Make the most out of Stone Skin by using your primary attack, even if you won't hit a target. Shockwave will often force enemy players to levitate into the air. Take advantage of it with your secondary gauntlet. Try to time your shockwave to hit enemies just as they land on the ground. Don't spam it. Stoneshapers are best used in wide, flat open spaces, where enemies can't avoid your attacks. Fire is a good gauntlet for the magic combos, but needs a little practice against airborne enemies. The wind gauntlet may be a better choice. Switch to wind attacks when the enemy is airborne and shockwave when they touch the ground. Lightning is also a good choice, giving you more range at a sorcery attack which stuns enemies, making them a prime target for your boulder. When attacking through a flame wall or flame puddles, your shockwave and boulder will catch fire, increasing their damage. Using ice magic on your boulder will freeze it, creating ice mist on impact and freezing enemies hit by it. You can also use wind shears on your boulder, increasing its range. Try to stay above the Stoneshaper, either in the air or on different levels, so their attacks cannot hit you. Stoneshapers do not have great mobility and are reliant on their runes. Attack them if they are on cooldown. Conduits use lightning magic and are the assault rifle of Spellbreak, great in mid to long range. The sorcery Lightning Strike will deal damage and shock enemy players, prohibiting them from casting spells, using runes and slowing their movement speed. Potential Energy adds 1 damage to every primary attack, for a maximum of +5 damage until you stop casting. Overload grants you an extra rune charge when casting your sorcery, but only a maximum of 1. Power Surge will remove any mana cost for 4 seconds after you used your sorcery. Secondary Strikes allows your sorcery to hit multiple times. Lightning bolts are very fast projectiles, excellent for both long-range pokes as well as chasing opponents down. In addition, they are a great counter to airborne opponents who are less mobile and are easier to hit. Capitalize on your long range by climbing up high towers or mountains. While you can't use your primary attack during Lightning Strike's cast animation, you can still use your rune charges. Activate your level 2 ability often, even outside of combat, to ensure that you always have an extra rune charge at the ready. Your level 4 ability, Secondary Strikes, allows you to easily cut off choke points for great zone control. When using your sorcery, try to place it in front of the enemy because it takes a few seconds to activate. Fire, Wind and Toxic are great combinations to better deal with enemies in close range. Stone may also be a good choice because you can force enemies into the air with your shockwave and then hit them with your lightning attacks. Firing lightning at a tornado will turn it into a lightning storm, which electrifies your enemies. Electrifying poison clouds will increase its duration and shock any players near the cloud. Poison puddles, ice trails and water puddles will spread your lightning attack and shock any player entering them. You can also fire through flame walls with your lightning attack. While conduits have great sustained damage, they lack burst damage. Use this to your advantage by taking quick trades and breaking line of sight. Their mobility is limited while firing bolts, making them an easy target for most sorceries. Apply pressure and force them to use a rune charge. It will reset potential energy's damage boost. Conduits struggle to track opponents in close quarters. Close the distance whenever possible. Toxicologists use poison magic that deals damage over time to armor. Their primary attack is similar to a shotgun and great for close range. They also gain bonus damage to attacks from stealth. Their sorcery, Toxic Cloud, will deploy a green cloud that deals damage to everyone and blocks their vision. It can combo with most other magic attacks, so be aware if you are near your Toxic Cloud. Toxic Spray will now leave toxic puddles behind. These damage and slow anyone who enters them, so they are a great way to deny areas to the enemy. You are now immune to your squad's Toxic Cloud, and when you enter them you will dash into the direction you are moving and become invisible for 3 seconds. But don't hang around too long, you can still take damage from magic combos created with your Toxic Cloud. Your primary attack will now deal 75% bonus damage while you are invisible. Try to get close to your enemy and take careful aim, because your attacks will break invisibility. Your sorcery will now fire multiple Toxic Clouds instead of just one. Use Toxic Spray's Corrosion to slowly remove your enemy's armor before going in for the kill. Vanishing Mists offer exceptional mobility in combat, Use it to close the gap and ambush your opponents. Utilizing invisibility from runes, you can trigger Outbreak multiple times for immense burst damage. Igniting toxic clouds into deadly dragonfire is a great way to finish off an opponent, especially with spreading sickness. However, use this combo with caution as you lose your mobility option from vanishing mists. Initiate fights in tight corridors where it's harder for your opponent to dodge your attacks. Good gauntlets are fire and wind for the magic combos and are somewhat better range, or frost and lightning for even better long range attacks. Fire will ignite your toxic puddles, creating dragonfire which deals more damage. Lightning attacks will electrify them, shocking any player who enters them, and ice will freeze them solid, making it possible to use them to slide. Casting your toxic attack at a tornado will turn it into a toxic whirlwind, dealing damage over time. When firing wind shears at toxic puddles, you will create poison mist. The mist deals damage and applies corrosion. Fireballs will ignite your toxic cloud and explode into dragonfire, dealing heavy damage. Ice will freeze your toxic cloud, making it solid. If an enemy player is inside the cloud, it will turn into ice mist instead, freezing the player after a few moments. Lightning will electrify the cloud, shocking anyone in the area and extending its duration. Wind shears will clear the cloud after 5 hits, creating poison mist at the point of impact. Use your flame wall as cover if you get ambushed. Toxic spray cannot pass through it. Blow up toxic clouds with fire to deny their mobility from vanishing mists and bonus damage from Outbreak. Breaking their invisibility through area of effect attacks from sorcery can also prove to be a viable strategy. Because of their high burst damage in close range, try to stay away through using your runes. Runes grant access to a third activated ability which provides non-damaging utility, primarily mobility. Players have a maximum rune charge of 1 by default and will refill a charge once the cooldown timer completes. The cooldown timer is paused while hovering and will only start when you touch the ground. Runes are also available in 5 different rarities. Higher levels will reduce the cooldown of the rune. You are able to equip 1 of 9 different runes. Some are better used for close combat, while others help you to stay away from it or to move quickly around the map. Spring Step will let you leap into the air in the direction you are moving. The jump is fairly short, so it's best used in close combat. The Dash rune lets you quickly dash in the direction you are moving. It is similar to the normal dodge, but has a greater range and you won't be slowed afterwards. The Invisibility rune will allow you to become invisible for a few seconds and increases your run speed. Any attack will cancel your invisibility, but you are still able to drink potions. With Shadow Step you will become invisible for a short duration and quickly dash in the direction you are moving. Wolf's Blood will show any enemy through walls and invisibility. Your run speed is also increased. It's a great rune to hunt down opponents in close combat. Featherfall launches you high up into the air, where you will slowly descend for a while. Casting ends the slow descent and you have to be grounded to use multiple charges, so you can't use it again while in the air. The Flight rune allows you to fly for a short duration. If you collide with something or jump, it will cancel your flight and you must touch the ground to use the ability again. Flight is best used to reposition yourself to initiate or escape from combat and to travel around the map. With teleportation you are able to choose a spot to teleport to after a short animation. As with flight, it can be tricky to use in direct combat. Chronomaster allows you to place a ghost at your current position. You then have 4 seconds to move normally and use all abilities. After these 4 seconds you will be moved back to your ghost position, with the amount of health and mana you had at that time. Talents are passive abilities which help to further customize your character for different playstyles. They can boost your armor and run speed or lower your cooldowns, for example. Talents are divided into 3 categories: mind, body and spirit. Each talent costs a different amount of talent points to be used, and players have a total of 7 talent points available to enable different talents. Picking no talent in their category is also an option. Talents are active from the beginning of a match and may be upgraded up to 3 times, indicated by the small circles around their icon. You can upgrade these in a match by reading scrolls of the same category. These are primarily found in chests, but enemy players will also drop them. Reading scrolls takes some seconds, so watch out for enemy players. 1-point talents are unlocked by default. The rest are unlocked by reaching Mastery rank 3, 5 or 7 with a specific class. So to unlock every talent, you have to reach level 7 with every class, and once unlocked, they may be used with any class. Equipment comes in 5 rarity levels: common, uncommon, rare, epic and legendary. Besides the gauntlet and runes, players are able to equip boots, belts and amulets. Boots will increase your run speed, belts your armor and amulets your maximum mana. Potions grant the user a temporary heal over time effect or a power up after a short activation time. The run speed will be reduced during activation, but the player is still able to crouch and remain invisible. Potions of the same type and level can be stacked in the same inventory slot. If you press the corresponding inventory button while near a potion, you will put it into the slot you pressed. There are health and armor potions, each with 3 different levels of potency. Safeguard potions, which will refill both health and armor, and a knowledge potion, which gives you 2 bonus charges to your rune and sorceries. Spellbreak's Battle Royale mode is available for solo play or 2 and 3 player teams. As with any Battle Royale mode, you start by dropping into the map. You can choose your drop point beforehand from a random selection, where you can also see if any other player has already chosen that drop point. After landing, you have access to your class gauntlet, so you're not completely defenseless. To gather more items, you have to open chests. These come in 4 different levels: small, medium, large and epic. The bigger the chest, the better the chance of higher quality items. There are also mana vaults. These are shown on the map and take some seconds to open. Mana vaults are the only way to acquire legendary gauntlets. You're also able to open chests while consuming a potion. Like other Battle Royale games, the map has a randomly positioned circular zone that will start to shrink as the game progresses. If you enter the next zone, shown on the map as a white circle or a yellow border in the game, your character will level up, unlocking its next class ability. When you are caught outside the zone, you will take damage, and the damage will increase the further along the game is. If the new zone is too far away for you to get to safety, you can look around for spellstorm rifts. Interact with these to be able to drop again into the match. Depending on the current event, it is possible for NPCs to show up. These will attack any player and probably guard some chest or item. When you die in their team mode, you will turn into a wisp that is still able to move slowly around. Enemies can banish you, killing you completely, and your teammates can revive you in this state. Dominion is a 5 vs 5 capture the point mode that you can play ranked or unranked. The match ends when one of the teams reaches the score limit. Captured zones will generate points for your team, and kills will also count towards your team's score. The main way to receive equipment is by visiting the trader. You can visit her while waiting on a respawn or by pressing the F button when alive. When you return, your health and armor will be replenished. The trader lets you trade in boons for upgrades. You receive these from killing enemy players or NPCs, but NPCs will only reward you with a fraction of a full boon. You can only have a maximum of 3 boons at a time, so visiting the trader often is a good idea. There are also NPCs scattered around the map. These will attack any nearby player, and if killed will drop equipment and potions. Dominion is a great mode if you just want to experience a non-stop combat in Spellbreak. As with any other game these days, there's of course an in-game shop and a battle pass. But don't worry, all items are just cosmetic and have no influence on gameplay. The only unlockable thing that really changes the gameplay are talents, and these are easily unlocked by leveling up your classes. Fuck it.